Hey guys, I'm back. If you want to know why I've been missing in action for a while, check out my most recent video on my other channel, the Happy Lady channel, and you can get the full backstory. But who's ready to dive in to chapter 5? It's about time, right? This chapter is called An A for Attitude. The day after I graduated from high school, I packed up my car and headed north for college. I couldn't wait to start my new life in a city where no one knew me. At college, everyone is new. I wouldn't be the minority this time. I was now an adult and didn't have to answer to anyone but me. This was exciting. As I took my last paycheck and used it to purchase a few housewarming gifts for myself, I couldn't stop thinking about how surreal it would be to sleep that night in a new place which I had all to myself. I would now be starting a new chapter in my life. Currently, all the pages were blank. I would be writing them one day at a time. A year ago, I had never heard of Ogden, Utah. The furthest north I had ever been was to the state amusement park, Lagoon. I really hadn't spent too much time outside of my Salt Lake County bubble. This felt great. I glanced in the rearview mirror at the sight of my hometown getting smaller and smaller until it was just cars behind me on the freeway and blue skies above. I arrived to my new place, a brown brick home with 6 empty bedrooms, without $1 in my pocket or a job. All I had to my name was a half tank of gas, a trunk full of belongings, and an apple. I knew everything would work out just fine, and my sister would be moving in as soon as her lease was up at her place, which was only a few minutes away. Until then, I would focus on my priorities, which were making some friends and finding a job. It took 2 weeks to land my first job as a hostess at Chili's. The hours were scarce, and the pay was low, but it was a job. I was good at it too. All I had to do was open the door, greet the customers with a smile, and seat them. Piece of cake. One day, to my surprise, my supervisor, Amy, called me over to the back of the restaurant. She was a stout and serious young woman with short curly black hair, a prosthetic leg, and a bone to pick with just about everyone. She sat me down, and by the look on her face, I knew the news wasn't going to be good. "Lindsey, I'm afraid I have to give you a warning about something." What was she talking about? "Okay," I said cautiously. "It's been recently brought to my attention that you have been acting too happy, and you need to tone it down a bit. You know, you don't always need to smile. It makes the customers a bit uncomfortable." Was she serious? Yes, she was. "This is just a warning, but if it continues, I'll have to write you up for it." Write me up? Was this even possible? As I walked away feeling very awkward and confused, I brought it up with some coworkers. It turned out that she was very envious of how the customers treated me. We had some regulars who'd make an effort to only come during my shifts. This bothered her a lot. She herself, being a single college student, felt threatened by my kindness and wanted to put a stop to it. I thought these days had ended when I graduated from high school. Eventually, I took another job closer to campus at a music retail store, which led to a better job at a print shop. Along the way, I quickly began to learn how wrong Amy had been. A positive attitude and a welcoming smile was the first step to obtaining job satisfaction and small-scale success. The customers appreciated my enthusiasm, and so did my employers. A year later, I went back to Chili's, this time on a date. Amy was still working her same job and just as unhappy as she was the day I last saw her. Boy, was she thrilled to see me. Subheading: Staying positive. A positive attitude truly does perform wonders on one's journey to success. If we let all the negative roadblocks influence us, then it's only a matter of time before we end up detoured, lost, or possibly stranded on the side of the highway. Our positive attitude keeps our battery powered and our gas tank full so we can make it in one piece to our destination. Life only got better from there. I met my future husband the week before school started, and we dated 3 months before he surprisingly proposed to me. A dark and handsome Weber State soccer player from Hof, Germany. He was the apple of my eye and my new best friend. The day after we were engaged, Manuel went home to Germany for winter vacation. His original plans were to only spend 1 semester in the U.S., but of course that changed when he met me. Because he had a short-term student visa, it caused problems with his change of plans. When he came back at the end of December, he was actually detained by immigration at the Chicago airport and sent on a plane right back to Germany. He was told that he could never come back to the United States again because he had traveled on an expired visa. We were both devastated, and I wondered if this was a sign from God that we were not meant to be together. I soon realized that this experience would strengthen us, and we would need that strength to endure future trials. The faith that we would gain would erase any future doubt that the Lord had a hand in bringing us together and keeping us together. Patience was learned as Manuel and I hung on to our faith that everything would work out. I soon found out that my university had a sister university right in Manuel's hometown. In fact, the very classes I was planning on taking next fall were being offered in a study abroad program at that university through my school. It was a miracle. I enrolled in the program, and as soon as spring semester had ended, I was on a flight to Germany. That summer, we did our best to go through the necessary steps to get Manuel approved for a fiancé visa. We hoped that my presence in Germany would help convince the German consulate that this was genuine. To our dismay, after waiting in line for 8 hours in a city 4 hours away for an appointment that took 8 months to schedule, we were told, "Sorry, no visa." I was devastated and began to doubt. I wanted my friends and my family to meet my fiancé. I wanted to get married in the Salt Lake Temple. I wanted to graduate from my university and raise my family in Utah. What was happening? Could I live the rest of my life in a foreign country because my husband would not be allowed in the U.S.? I didn't feel that I had the strength to stay. Positive had always been my middle name, but now having a positive attitude just seemed so pointless. For the next few days, I stayed in my room and cried. I didn't see a light at the end of this tunnel, and the darkness seemed to weigh me down. A million tissues and a gazillion German chocolates later, I realized once again that if I wanted to have a happy life, I needed to do something about it. School would be starting in a week, and I was either staying or leaving. I couldn't make this decision on my own. So I prayed to the Lord that if Manuel and I were meant to be together, that a sign be given. The very next day, something unexpected happened. There was a knock at the door. It was the mailman with a certified parcel for Manuel. We opened it up, and inside was a visa. That sign was clear enough for me, and my faith was increased tenfold that day. Despite the happy news, there was a catch. We were told that if we were not married by December 1st, 2000, the visa would be revoked. Without delay, we hopped on the next flight back to the U.S. and started the first week of school back in Utah. In addition to schoolwork and finding employment, we had a wedding to plan. Manuel was baptized in November of 1999 and would not be permitted for a temple marriage until the end of November 2000. We were cutting it close, but our biggest goal was temple marriage. I'll never forget the day I called the Salt Lake Temple to schedule our date. Winter was a busy time of year for marriages. Everyone scheduled their weddings right after the end of the semester. We were told the soonest date available was December 1st. Now, either the Lord had a sense of humor or he really wanted to solidify our faith. We reserved the date and felt like we could finally breathe. Subheading: A new life begins. Without any money and zero income, we had a lot of work to do to prepare for this wedding. I single-handedly made all of my decorations and designed my bridesmaid dresses. Looking back, I now laugh at the horrific side of it all, but then I was pleased with my work. Remember, a positive attitude can change your vision. I was just grateful to be having a wedding day. Marrying the love of my life meant more than an elaborate wedding. Our wedding was on a beautiful and sunny December morning. Manuel's family had traveled from Germany to be there. It was a special day that I will never forget. After being sealed together for time and all eternity, it made the previous struggles of that year worth it. We had labored, endured, and utilized our faith. The Lord did the rest. And that is the end of chapter 5. Okay, so there is a much more detailed account about our engagement, my husband getting stuck in Germany, and us finally being able to get married. And so if you are interested in all of those details, I will put a link to that old video down below in the comments or in the video description. It's filled with unbelievable miracles. Anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts so far. Is there anything in that chapter that you can relate to? Share it down below in the comments. It's funny because people will always try to say my last name and they ask me, how do you pronounce that? Why is it spelled that way? Where is it from? And every time I tell them, oh, it's my husband's name. He's German. They go, oh, yeah, I have some German in my family tree. I totally get it. And I have to tell them, no, I don't think you understand. He's actually a German. And they still look at me confused, and then I have to tell them, he was born in Germany, he is a German citizen, he is not an American citizen, he's a German. And then they think about it for a minute, and then they say, oh, okay. So after all of these years, he's now been living in the US longer than he had lived in Germany because he came over here when he was 18. It's crazy to think about that, but his entire family is still in Germany. None of them are members of the church. I don't know if I mentioned that in this book, but it is in the video that I will share down below. So we try to go back to Germany every other year and visit his family, and then his mom and his niece will usually come over on the opposite years and visit us. So it's been a wild adventure. I still can't speak German after all of these years, after taking courses, online classes, Duolingo. Myself and my kids have never been able to pick it up and speak it. And it's probably because my husband only speaks it around his family. He always speaks English to us. Most people in Germany actually speak English really well, so they would prefer to speak English to you, except for my husband's family. They really don't speak English. His mom speaks broken English, his brother just a tiny bit, and everyone else, they don't really speak it. So it makes it difficult to have a relationship with my in-laws. We've tried different things over the years. We used to email back and forth, and there came a day when I didn't get a reply back, and it kind of just stopped after that. So they follow me on social media. They don't really post anything, but they see all of our family posts, and that's why I started making all of those family videos years ago and putting them on my YouTube channel so that his family could feel included in our life. They're kind of very quiet, private people, so they don't really post anything or share anything. I don't know much about them other than what my husband shares with me every now and then. And when we go over there, I get to know them a little better just from watching them and maybe playing some card games with them. But my husband doesn't really translate back and forth conversations, and so they just talk to him and I just talk to my kids. So before my kids came along, I had no one to talk to when we'd go visit. I would just usually sit in a corner and feel completely left out of the conversation, which is why I was trying so hard to learn German. When I started learning it, I would try to practice it when we would go visit, and it felt like no one wanted to respond back to me. So even though I passed my college course, even though I passed my German college course and I could have a conversation with my college instructor, it didn't seem to pass the test of my in-laws. They just didn't feel comfortable responding to me in German. So the other thing I do is sometimes I will download an app and I will say something in English on the app and have it translate it back in German and say it out loud. And I've done that the last couple of times I've gone there, and they kind of think it's funny. They kind of laugh, but it takes some work typing it up and having them read it or listen to it. Sometimes it doesn't always come across the right way. So So it can be more of a problem than a help. And if they want to know something about me, I guess they usually just ask my husband, and he just tells them what he feels like telling them. So they don't ever ask me directly or have me respond and have my husband translate it back. They just ask him. And if he doesn't know, he doesn't know. So kind of an interesting dynamic there. If any of you out there can relate, please share down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's crazy to think all of the odds that we had against us in the beginning. We were different culturally, speaking different languages, coming from different countries, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different faiths, different politics. He was a vegetarian, I was not. So we couldn't be any more opposite, and we both came from divorced parents. So all the odds were against us that this should not work out. And here we are, 25 years later, still happily married. That is the power of covenants. And I guess I should add, he did join the church. About 5 years ago, he did shift his politics. So we're a lot similar that way now. Not even a few months into our first year of marriage, he stopped being a vegetarian and started eating meat again. And now a lot of people say that his English is better than mine. Sometimes he even corrects me on my grammar. So there you have it. Anyways, I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts or questions down below. This is always fun. I've been enjoying revisiting this book because I can't remember what I wrote about. So as these stories come up, lots of memories surface, and it's fun to revisit those. But anyways, if you have any questions about any of it, feel free to ask down below and I will address it in the next video. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time.